burn and brew with Coven true, and glory shall be thine.
Hey friends, it's Jasmine, and I hope that you all are doing well. If you're new here, welcome. I am a practicing witch and I talk about it here on the internet. If you are a returning subscriber, it's really good to see you back. Thank you for coming back. So in today's video, I have a little bit of a haul. I have some books, I have some cards, I have some jewelry, and just some things that I want to share with you all today. I could not be bothered to do my hair, not that anyone actually really cares, but I did put on a little bit of lipstick. It snowed today where I am, and we are getting I'm hoping the final little bits of winter before we can get into the spring. I am in the Midwest, and we always have a second winter that sort of strikes one last time around February. And that's when I am currently filming this now. All of my videos go onto my Patreon first for early release. So I just like to say when I'm filming this, because when it is released later, it could be a month later, it could be 2 months later, but I'm gonna try to get this video out to everyone as soon as I possibly can, because there's some really cool stuff here that I want to share with you. The first thing that I want to talk about is a book that I was actually sent by another creator here on YouTube, RAINN. Shout out. I got this book right here. This is her book, Immaculate Immortality, Channeled Dark Feminine Poetry. Now, this is what the front of the book looks like. We love it. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's available on Amazon. And let me read you a little bit of what the back of the book says. Nurtured and imbued, she of the worlds, they of every place. Explore and experience the channeled epithets and poetry within. Unlock the hidden potential and delve into the channeled messages from various faces of the dark feminine, such as Nyx, Ereshkigal, Persephone, Medusa, and more. Emphasize their pivotal role in understanding the divine presence. Say their names. We are looking at the dark feminine, dark mother sort of archetype, but I feel like there's so much more than just that RAINN has embodied in this. And I really feel like, RAINN, you deserve some flowers for this work, because as a priestess myself, I found this to be beautiful to read and to be able to connect with, not just your words, but the energy that you really did weave into this. I want to read you guys the dedication in this book. Dedicated to her, may chaos guide me through the void. May Hecate light my way. Tiamat take me to new depths. Nyx too far away. Ereshkigal holds the keys to my death, while Persephone brings my spring. Help me to save my peace, Lilith, on the backs of Kalyak's winter's wings. Baba Yaga send me home with boons, standing with Medusa's might. May Medusa teach vengeance swift, while the Mirai hold my strings tight. The words, delicious, divine, just an absolute delight. So there's a little bit here in the beginning of the book about speaking to the dark feminine archetype and that mystery, and some of RAINN's personal UPG, which I find extremely refreshing. You guys know I'm a big lover of UPG, unverified personal gnosis. I think that it's a really good thing for the craft overall. I know that it can be kind of a hot take, and I think it can be spicy when people put their own UPG out there as historical fact. Yeah, of course, that can be questionable, but I think if more people put their UPG out into the wider well of the craft spring, I think long term that will improve the craft over time. There's also some art in this book as well that RAINN has made. There's some spots also to sort of journal entry and write some of your own takes from the poetry from the book. Overall, I would have to say that this book gets a 10 out of 10 from me. I recommend checking it out on Amazon, especially if you are sort of interested in that dark mother, dark goddess delicious sort of current, I think that this is a book that you will want to check out. If you are someone that considers yourself a priestess or walks a priestess sort of path, I think that this is a book that you would also enjoy checking out. If you're a practitioner of witch flight, sort of pulling your spirit from your body and traversing other worlds, I think that this will also be a book that you will really enjoy. This is going to be in kind of like a similar vein of speaking to the priestess sort of archetype. And the next book that I have here is Lifting the Veil by Janet Farrar and Gavin Bone, A Witch's Guide to Trance Prophecy, Drawing Down the Moon, and a Static Ritual. This book I have had for a while now. However, I recently spent some time going back through this and like really kind of dog-earing some certain parts of it. Yes, I dog-ear my books. They're my books, they're not yours. So if you don't like that, don't dog-ear your books. But when I'm reading, I really like to kind of take notes of things that really speak to me to kind of revisit later. Also, Belladonna Laveau, who I've had here on my channel before, also wrote a review of this as well. It's on the back of the book here. Groundbreaking and eye-opening, rekindling the art of oracular ritual. Lifting the Veil brings to light the reemergence of the Sibyl in modern paganism, a must-read for advanced practitioners. And I'm familiar with Janet also through the iconic book of The Witch's Bible. For those of you that know, you know. I'm not going to really spend a whole lot of time talking about that right now. Here's a little bit about the back of the book. Written to fill the gap in available knowledge on trance, prophecy, and deity possession and mediumship within the neo-pagan and Wiccan communities. Lifting the Veil has been developed from Janet Farrar and Gavin Bone's personal work and public workshops on trance prophecy and ecstatic ritual over 25 years. The book covers the history of modern practice as far as trance, ecstatic ritual, drawing down the moon, sex magic, and working with the spirits of the dead. It explores the 4 keys to trance prophecy, which include the importance of understanding mythical cosmology and psychology, understanding the role of energy in trance, the nature of spirits and deity, and understanding what trance is and what techniques can be involved. Because trance prophecy is a very subjective process, the book includes descriptions of personal experiences of others and transcriptions from several independent sessions by modern seers and priestesses. I don't necessarily think that Janet Farrar or Gavin Bone really need an introduction on my channel. I think that they're definitely very influential in like the Western witchcraft sort of revival. And if you aren't familiar with them, I think that it would do you good to familiarize yourself with these folks. And if you are interested in trance prophecy specifically, or just interested in learning more about the history of like sibyls and oracles and seers, highly recommend this. I really enjoyed the bits in here when it comes to the history of like the Delphic oracles. I really enjoyed that a lot. I also, the 4 keys to trance prophecy, their sort of modality of attaining trance, I found to be very similar to work that I've been doing well before I even read this. So I found that to be kind of confirmational. I got on this book initially because, as some of you might know, I am in my 3rd year of study within the Red Thread Academy, which is an American folkloric traditional witches school, and I needed to do a book report. And this title stuck out to me. I also already had the book, so even more reason. When I first read this, I don't think I was mature enough in my practice to really be able to grasp what was being put out. I love how they include pictures in this book, just like how they include in The Witch's Bible. I remember as a young teenager getting my hands on a copy of The Witch's Bible and just being totally blown away by some of the pictures in the book. And not that I'm necessarily Wiccan, but I do think that American traditional witchcraft, of course, has a lot of Wiccan influence and roots. Same can be said for also the amount of influence that we have with Thelema as well, which they also talk about that in this book as well. A little bit of Aleister Crowley and some of the rituals there, and just some of the lineage of initiatory witchcraft from Gardner and Crowley and The Golden Dawn. It's a good book to check out. Again, kind of similar to the last one, if you consider yourself a priestess or if you are interested in these sorts of studies, this absolutely would be a book that I would recommend. And price-wise, I want to say I paid like, this says it's, okay, so this says it's like $21 US. I think I actually paid less than that for this book. I think I got it used on Amazon for like maybe 16. But definitely check this out. Next, I'm gonna show you guys some cards. And before we get into that, I want to just say a big thank you to Red Wheel Wiser for sending me a copy of these cards. That was really awesome. Now, these cards are the conjure cards. And some of you who have been watching my channel for a while might be familiar with Jake Richards, or you might just be familiar with him because he's written some great stuff. He wrote the book Backwoods Witchcraft, which I reviewed on my channel a couple of years ago because our book club had chosen that. And I think that that book, Backwoods Witchcraft, is a really good book for understanding that very particular sort of Appalachian conjure, that backwoods witchcraft of primarily central Appalachia. I've already done a full review video about that book specifically. I'll try to remember to leave a link in the description, but I'd recommend checking that out. So I remember when these conjure cards came out and I had every intention of picking some up, but like my squirrel brain kind of moves from one thing to another. So I hadn't actually gotten some. So I'm really excited that I was sent a deck of these cards. I have not even taken them out of the package yet. But I will probably, let me know, comment down below if you'd like me to do like a full review of like walking through these cards, because I probably will anyway, because I'm interested in it myself. But if you would be, comment down below and let me know. This is what the back looks like. I personally love Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot, but I also really enjoy classical cartomancy with playing cards. And so this really piqued my interest just because something about this and the vibe, if you will, just speaks to me. And I can't explain that any more than that. Like the girls who get it, and the girls who don't won't. So this says it's a unique divination deck based on the authentic backwoods traditions, folklore, and superstitions of Appalachia. Includes 54 cards and a 64-page guidebook. Really excited to kind of start playing around with these. I read, like I said, cartomancy anyway, so I'm interested to see if my understanding of cartomancy is going to be similar to how the book lays it out, but I also really appreciate the oracular imagery laid over it. It kind of in a way reminds me of like some Lenormand vibes. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. If you have these conjure cards or if you have used them, let me know what you think. Do you like them? What do you use them for? Do you find yourself using these for like seasonal divination? Do you find yourself using these for clients if you read professionally? Do you use these for like daily draws? Let me know. The next thing that I have for you guys is some jewelry, and the jewelry brand is called Otter Spirit. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with this brand or not. This is actually a brand that reached out to me and offered to do a little bit of a collab. I looked into the brand and I thought it was something that I would be interested in sharing with you guys. So this is also kind of like a mini review because this is new to me as well. They sent me 3 bracelets. They sell an array of crystal jewelry that is of high quality, and they have a mission of serving the Monterey Bay otters, and a percentage of all of the proceeds from the sales goes to that wildlife foundation, which I think that's awesome. I think otters are awesome. I think that like what otters can represent magically, amazing. They're adorable. Save the environment. And it's nice to know that when you make a purchase with Otter Spirit, that some of your money is going to help the otters as well. When they reached out to me, they told me that I could take a look at some of their bracelet bundles and I could pick one. And because this was around Valentine's Day, I ended up picking the Love bundle. But also I believe the bracelets have zodiac correspondences as well, which like as a witch, we love a good planetary correspondence. We love a good zodiac correspondence. We love a good magical correspondence. And witches, this brand very much has that as a part of it. So Like when you're thinking of witchy brands, Otter Spirit might not be one of the first ones that come to mind, but I do think that there is magic that can be pulled from this company by working with these bracelets. And I know that a lot of us work with crystals in varying capacities. I feel like earlier on in my practice, I worked with crystals more, and I also felt this consumerist push just to buy them. But what was I really doing with them? So I kind of went through a phase later in my practice where I just kind of stopped buying them altogether. And I was even giving them away to people because I found I was just collecting them. But when it comes to crystal jewelry, like my pendant right here that I'm wearing, it has a horned moon on it and it's a moonstone pendant. This is from Bone and Branch. I have consecrated this to be not just like a protective sort of talisman, but it also really speaks to a craft mystery of mine as a votary of the White Goddess within our ATW tradition. So I've kind of brought crystals back in a way into my practice through devotional jewelry, as opposed to magic necessarily. So let's get into some of these bracelets. I have 3 boxes here. So I imagine this is probably how they're going to come if you end up looking into this brand and purchasing any jewelry. They come in this really nice box and it says Otter Spirit. And this is like a high quality box. And then when you open it up, it has this quote here that says, "Each gemstone tells a unique story. Now it's time to write yours." And then it comes in this bag. The bag has like this cute otter on it and the jewelry is in here. So I'm gonna open all 3 of these up and show you guys what I got. So these are the 3 bracelets that I got. It's a little hard to see with how the camera is right now, but these little silver charms are on each bracelet and they have that Otter Spirit head that's on the bags. So that's what those little charms are. And then these are the bracelets. And this one, I believe, is the red jasper, and this one is rose quartz, and this one is the rhodonite, I believe. They do also give you these little info cards that speak to what the crystals represent. So I'm gonna read you guys what these say. So the rhodonite, which is this one, there's a quote here that says, "I am kind, I am compassionate to myself and others." And it says the intention for this one is love and healing, the zodiac signs, Pisces, Cancer, Libra, and Taurus, and the chakras being the heart and the root. That part I could probably give or take, but that's cool. There is also a care guide on here. It says, "Clean gently using a damp, soft cloth. Avoid prolonged exposure to sunlight and to water." I think that's probably like just good crystal care in general. And it says authentic AAA grade. That's what it was. All their jewelry is authentic AAA grade. Also, my sun sign is Libra, my moon sign is Pisces. So the rhodonite, also, I just love that. The next one being the rose quartz, okay? And the quote for this one says, "I am loved for who I am." And the intention is love. The zodiac signs being Taurus, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. The chakra for this one is the heart. And then there's the same care guide. I really like how the rose quartz and the rhodonite together pair. And then the third one would be the red jasper. "I am brave and I will not give up." The intention being strength. Zodiac, Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus, and Scorpio, and the chakras being the root chakra. Also, it has a little bit of a care guide. These are, I think, the larger beads. When you pick your bracelet, you can pick between like a smaller bead if you want something more dainty, or you can get like the bigger ones. I think I got the bigger ones, not the mini. They are on like an elastic sort of band. And this is what they look like on as a set. But yeah, these are really cool. Thank you so much, Otter Spirit, for sending me these and reaching out to me. I will definitely be telling people about Otter Spirit and checking out your other products. They did give me a promo code if anyone is interested. And the promo code is Otter Family. I will try to leave something over here that has the code. If you use my code Otter Family, you're going to get 20% off of your order, and you're also going to be supporting me and this channel as I make 15% off of sales. So the next part of this haul, these are books that I bought myself, but kind of like with Lifting the Veil, I've been sitting on these books for a while. The first one being The Ineffable Name, and the second one being Barbarous Words. Both of these are from George Hares, who also has a YouTube channel here. If you are interested in traditional witchcraft and that's kind of your thing, I would recommend checking out George's channel. He makes really great videos. Also queer witch, so we love to support that. Both of these books are self-published on Amazon and you can locate them there. Recently, Lorelei Black from Blade and Broom made a review of both of these books, and it reminded me that I've been sitting on these books for a little while. I read The Ineffable Name a few years ago, but again, I didn't really spend, I think, enough time with it. And so now that I have, I want to talk about The Ineffable Name. This book, for me, let me show you guys what the front of it looks like before I get too ahead of myself. Look at the art, okay? The Ineffable Name, A Crafter's Guide to Traditional Witchcraft by George Hares, a foreword by Gemma Gary. And let me tell you, if you don't know who Gemma Gary is, I feel like she is like sort of this witch queen of tradcraft. The book, The Black Toad, check it out, okay? A Devil's Dozen, check it out. Now, let me read you what the back of the book says. The Ineffable Name, being a book aimed at the traditional crafter, delves into some of the core principles, practices, and origins that lie within the old craft, for the seeker looking for a more traditional and folkloric approach to witchcraft. This book will assist and help the beginner in forming and forging their path of traditional witchcraft, alongside giving reference to the origins and being able to give deeper insight into various forms of practice, helping gain gnosis and understanding of where those origins lie. True to the nature of the dual ways, or of those within the witch cult, this book is aimed at those who have a body of experience behind them, making it accessible to both the seeker and the experienced witch. Within this book, you will learn the ways and methods of those who practice the traditional witchcraft current, such as accessing the liminal world, gaining and forging an avid relationship with familiar spirit, learning different aspects of the witch gods, such as Tubal Cain, and learning to ruse the inner witch fire, the Queen of Elfame and her fairy influence with those of the craft, the old master of the witches, the devil himself, and methods of witchery which will be given herein, such as the compass round and its various methods, alongside other ritualistic aspects of traditional craft and its origins, the nocturnal flight of the fetch and how to access the other world, fetch flight, shape-shifting, and other aspects of dark shamanic influenced craft. Overall, this book is designed to teach the seeker, but also inspire the beginner in their current praxis, with older references and accounts of practitioners past and present that seek traditional witchcraft with over 20 years of experience. The Ineffable Name is a book aimed to assist and amplify everyone within their praxis. Okay, love. Again, I really enjoyed the foreword from Gemma Gary. This book to me, first of all, I adore George. Let me just say that. Can't say enough good things about George. I think that very wonderful person, very skilled witch, and it shows. The way that this book is written truly feels like you're having a conversation directly with George, which I really, really like, because I feel like some trad witch books almost feel more like I'm reading a historical account of witchcraft as opposed to I'm actually reading directly from a practitioner. For those of you that sort of get what I mean. I think that there's a lot of tradcraft books that can just be really overwhelming academically, or they can be just kind of inaccessible based on how they're written. And I do know that there have been some criticisms of this book based off of how it's written, because it just kind of flows the whole way through. I like that. That didn't bother me at all. Also, like just the way that the words appear on the page, I feel like that makes it very accessible. I don't know how to explain that in any better way. The art that is in this book, this is probably one of my favorites, okay? peep that horned moon. Okay, exactly. The art really speaks to my witch soul. It really kind of ignited my own witch fire just by looking at the art. The book itself, I definitely feel like would be a really good intro book to traditional witchcraft sort of as a whole. It reminded me a lot of Kelden Mercury's book, The Crooked Path, and I loved The Crooked Path. It's probably also up there in like my list of favorites. And also, like, if I were to make a list of beginner books that I would recommend, Kelden's book, The Crooked Path, but also George's book, The Ineffable Name, would both be on there. Really enjoyed reading George's book, The Ineffable Name, and hearing how George sort of speaks to the mysteries of the devil within traditional witchcraft. And I feel like George's book, The Ineffable Name, very much speaks to the sort of Luciferian current that I have always felt within tradcraft spaces. And this is not a criticism or knocking Kelden's work in any way, because love Kelden, love The Crooked Path. But I think that George's work, I don't know how I want to say this. I don't want to say like it's darker, because that's not really the right word for it. I would say that reading The Ineffable Name compared to The Crooked Path, The Ineffable Name to me feels more subversive and it feels more transgressive. I think that that might be a better way to describe it than like darker per se. Because y'all know how I feel about the terminology of like light and dark. I think it's just kind of played out. I think that this book holds more severity and, like I said, transgressiveness, subversiveness. So if I were speaking to someone directly, if I knew their kind of vibe, I might recommend this book over The Crooked Path, depending on who I'm recommending it to. If I'm recommending, you know, a beginner tradcraft book to someone that I don't necessarily feel like is embracing that transgressive, subversive nature, which I personally would argue the true spirit of witchcraft is, just innately. I think that The Crooked Path might be like a gentler welcome, but I really appreciate George's severity in this book. I appreciate how it's laid out, how unapologetic with the transgressive nature it is. I really enjoyed the bits in here about like sex magic and group ritual when it comes to that. Kind of like how Lorelai referenced in that video talking about the phallus stones. That gave me some really fun imagery as I was reading that, so I greatly appreciate you for that. And I loved Gemma Gary's foreword. And I feel like this is a book that I'm probably going to end up picking up again, because it has like a feel-good, nostalgic sort of craft-like vibe to it. And this one I have just finished reading for like, I think the third time now. And I feel like this is, again, one of those books, and maybe it's because it's how it's written with like how it flows. I think if you read this more than twice, even more than once, I think you're going to pick other little bits out of this. So overall, I would give this book a 10 out of 10. Definitely, I would recommend it to beginner practitioners, but also I would say that even seasoned, like traditional witches, I think could benefit from this, because George also does include some of their UPG as well in this book. And again, I think that that's so important for us as witches to hear other people's direct experiences with the craft. Like reading the more academic, scholarly approaches to books, obviously that's great. And I'm not saying that we should do away with it, but I think that there needs to be a balance between reading those sort of historical analyses, whatever, of the craft and reading more personal or even shared UPG. I also really like in this book how the witch cult lineage, if you will, is kind of laid out with talking about different old craft covens, because I was able to really look at that and then go read more about those groups and see how there is so much influence from those old craft covens very much still today in modern covens. So that was great. This is his other book, Barbarous Words. Barbarous Words, a compendium of conjurations of British folk magic and other Papist charms. And this is what the front looks like. And then here's the back, and I'll read the back to you. Britain, a place steeped in its mystery and folklore, but most of all, its magic. Throughout the ages, there were those who practiced various forms of British folk magic and were known by many names, such as witches, conjurers, charmers, cunning folk. Sadly, folk magic experienced a mass decline in these practices after the 1900s. However, fortunately, in recent years, the incorporation of older styles of folk magic has made a comeback and has influenced people's personal practices today. This book is not only a compendium and compilation of different examples and aspects of folk magic throughout the British Isles, but the author's modern interpretation, which demonstrates a contemporary twist on older forms of praxis and folk magic, giving examples of how to work with them in the modern age. Being the first of its kind, this book will show you how to do just that in order for the practitioner to apply these techniques to their personal practice, contributing to the long-standing history of British folk magic and preserving it and keeping it in the now. Sounds great, right? Both of these, again, available on Amazon. Highly recommend. Now, me personally, I live in the Midwest of the United States. I am in a tradition that we know as American traditional folkloric witchcraft. However, tradcraft in general, be it ATW, BTW, we're cousins. Us Americans might be the wild, rowdy, redheaded stepchildren of the tradcraft world. But I do think that it's important for us to kind of go back across the pond and look at some of these roots because they very much are here as well. And it's interesting to see how some of the charms, which like I said, I'm only about a third of the way through this, so I'll probably have to come on here and talk about it once I'm done, because you guys know me. But it's interesting to see how some of these charms are so similar, regardless of them being done across the pond or here, especially when, like I was talking about Jake Richards' book, Backwoods Witchcraft, compare some of the folk charms of that book to some of the folk charms of Barbarous Words, and I think you're going to see a lot of overlap and a lot of parallels. So anyway, that is the haul, okay? I am just loving all of this. Lifting the Veil was great. Lennon, your book, Immaculate Immortality, was a delight. And honestly, that's a great coffee table book just to have. I've had it on my coffee table, and when I've had friends over for kikis, the book is stunning. Of course, it pops out. It's a great conversation starter. And similar to that whole priestess vein, I mean, check out Lifting the Veil. Look into that history of sibyls and oracles, especially if you are on this sort of priestess path within the craft. And Otter Spirit, again, thank you for offering to send me some of your jewelry. I love what I've received. I will be recommending other people check it out as well. Let me know what you all thought of this video. Would you like to see more hauls on my channel? Let me know. Because I like doing hauls. I really do. It's fun. And let me know if you're interested in me doing sort of a walkthrough of those conjure cards. Anyways, until next time, I hope that you all are well, and I hope that you have had some water today. If not, take this as a sign to go get you a glass of water, maybe a snack too. And yeah, until next time, blessed be, friends, and I will see you in hell. Bye.
Down, down, down the road, down the witch's road. Down, down, down the road, down the witch's road. Down, down, down the road, down the witch's road. Circle sewn with fate, unlock thy hidden